Hello all, I hope you're doing well today. I'm sure most of you have heard of the disturbances in Epping in Essex last night. Apparently locals were out on the street protesting after a few days ago a migrant who came over on one of these boats was trying to sexually proposition a schoolgirl there. Now, some of the clips coming out are quite spicy, like the last one, which showed a riot band basically mowing down one of the protesters. And I wanted to cover this for several reasons. One of them because I think we're going to see more and more of this in the coming years. But secondly, to see the response of the mainstream. And their response is so bad, both media and government, you do start to wonder whether they're doing this sort of thing on purpose. Let's have a look at the good old BBC. They'd never lie to the British public, would they? Their write-up is by a Shivani Chowdhury. That's an Indian name, sometimes for Muslims, sometimes for Hindus. Do you think she's going to sympathise with the local people of Epping's concern about the safety of their children because of mass immigration? Something tells me she'll believe that the protesters are all evil, twisted maniacs, while the asylum seekers are all innocent little bunnies who wouldn't hurt a fly. Now, I know many of us will see the BBC as a joke these days, but we have to remember it still has massive influence and it's always trying to shape the political and cultural conversation in the nation. In their write-up, they say hundreds of people have taken part in protests near a hotel used to house asylum seekers. Protesters from far-right and pro-refugee groups gathered in Epping, Essex on Thursday. BBC Essex political reporter Simon Dedman, who was at the scene, estimated there were about 40 pro-refugee protesters and about 400 members of far-right groups. First of all, far-right groups? What far-right groups? Why can't you name them? Do they have a leader? Why can't you interview him? It seems to me these people are just locals from the area who are probably pretty fed up of what's been going on. Now, as I always say, I'm not pro any violence, I don't recommend any of this behaviour, but it just seems as soon as someone gets out an England flag, immediately it's far right. And we should be mindful, the reason they always say far right is because in the progressive theology, they conceptualise far right as ultimate evil. Far right equals Hitler, Hitler equals Satan in our secular age. Ergo, if you're identified with the far right, you are evil, you are Satan, you are Hitler. In essence, the BBC is up to its old propaganda of representing people who are concerned about their communities as pure evil, while they present the counter, the leftists, who are essentially defending an asylum seeker, quote-unquote, who was trying to sexually abuse a child, as also wonderful and sweet, as you can see by these pictures here. They don't interview any of the locals, they don't speak to any of these supposed far-right groups. All they do is get a quote from one of these stand-up to racism propagandists who states, "Britain is a peaceful country in which people should be allowed to go about their business without being attacked." Correction, Britain was a peaceful country until our government decided to enact mass immigration and mass manipulation on the people. And yes, people should be able to go about their business without being attacked, but that's the whole point. Girls should be able to go to the park, to the shopping mall, without an illegal migrant trying to sexually abuse them. But don't worry about that. Look, here are the leftist protesters now being guided in by the police with their socialist worker signs. Oh, it's like the October Revolution all over again, isn't it? Let's go and stand up for those illegal migrants abusing children. Yeah, come on, killing in the name of. And here they are again, being shepherded home by the police after their nice day out at the circus. I mean, dear Lord, aren't these people supposed to be anti-establishment? They get wheeled around like a geriatric round a National Trust museum by the police. And I doubt most of these leftist protesters are actually evil people. They look like idiot Corbynistas who are stuck in the hippie stage of the 1960s. You can imagine their trip home in the riot van, can't you? How many roads must a man walk down? Sing it with me, Jeremiah. Come on, Hugh. Come on, Abdul. Sing along. Before you call him a man. I mean, shut up, you great doofuses. It's 2025, not 1963. And if you haven't noticed, we tried your wonderful utopian liberal project and it didn't work out so well. But look, while I'm sure there may be some people in the protesters who are up to no good, the broader point that the country is facing here is that the people up and down the land are losing faith in the system. They're realising that it's not on their side. The media will manipulate them. It doesn't care about the demographic replacement of the people here, and it certainly doesn't care about the dangers it's putting the people in. Now, I'm not saying I want or promote civil disturbances, but the reality is if people don't feel that their communities are safe, that their children are safe, they will start taking matters into their own hands. Case in point, this was Highbury and Islington Station in London yesterday. For those who don't know, that's just coming out of Islington, which is a trendy part of town, so you get a real mix of people there. Apparently some, architect and engineering enthusiast decided to punch a guy who was holding a baby at the time. And some blokes had to step in, to subdue this guy. And to be honest, good for them. Now, this sort of thing has been bubbling up for a while. I remember when I lived in London, I lived in Bermondsey, which is near the famous Tower Bridge. And around there, these, engineering enthusiasts who were quite young used to ride their bikes at you while doing a wheelie right up to your face and then swerve away at the last minute. If you did anything, if you tried to stop them, they would jump on you like a pack of hyenas. The police aren't going to stop them. And if you say anything, you'll be seen as racist anyway. And when things like this happen on the regular, which they tend to in places like London, it sort of grinds you down. And then the mainstream liberal apparatus tells you that, black folks are the eternal victims, you're the eternal oppressor, you're pure evil. If you could just be more conscious and considerate of them, everything would magically fix. It all gets a bit tiring. My point is that people have been ground down over decades to lose total faith in the system, so you just don't believe it anymore. It's case in point, we've got a hosepipe ban in the southeast at the moment, and of course, hot weather, hosepipe bans happen, they always have. But it starts to make you question, is this happened because of the mass importation of people? I mean, have you built more reservoirs to account for them? You certainly didn't do anything when it came to the drainage, you didn't do anything when it came to housing, so why should we trust you on this? And all we seem to ever get in response is, you're just evil, you don't believe in the utopian system. If you did, it would be magical and wonderful. Well, do you know what? I don't believe in it anymore. I don't believe in the beautiful 60s music. Yeah, some of it was nice and forward-thinking at the time, but it was 70 years ago. It's time for us to move on and wake up and smell the coffee. Smelling the coffee is the last thing the liberal regime wants you to do. It wants you to stay in the utopian liberal regime. I thought this was expressed beautifully in this image the other day from a Coldplay concert at Wembley. You can see Wembley Stadium looking grand and authoritative in the background. But what's it being used for? Bland, insipid, middle-of-the-road pop rock of Chris Martin. And the walkway lined by endless gay flags. It's sort of a reverse version of Nazism in its servility to the ruling ideology of the age. Just while we're on the topic of Coldplay, there's this clip that's gone viral of this CEO and his head of HR having an affair on Coldplay's Kiss Cam. Yeah, Coldplay have a kiss cam at their concert apparently. Rock and roll. But this clip's gone viral because these two have been caught having an affair in front of the world and so on, and it's all over social media. Yet a more interesting dynamic with regards to this is it shows Coldplay really are the ultimate band of the liberal era. They are money power personified. They appeal to corporate CEOs and HR Karens. It's soul-devouring, mindless pop complete with light shows to entertain a bovine generation desperately clawing back the utopian 60s liberal values in an age of nihilism and despair. And I think it really gets under my skin because it's this sort of thing that blocks the true artistic and creative expression of the European soul, which we sorely need for our mental and spiritual health. Yet the liberal regime will cling on to power with everything it's got. Its latest move is to lessen the voting age to 16 from 18. Of course, that's just getting more votes for the Labour Party. Young people tend to vote left. Of course, as well, a lot of young people in this day and age are of non-British origin, which means votes for the left liberal parties as well. But I do still believe an irresistible change is coming in the UK and Europe. Quite frankly, people are being pushed over the edge and are coming to the point where they just have nothing to lose. It could be a spicy future we got ahead of us. Anyway, these are some of my thoughts. Do let me know what you think down below. Do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.